The hardest part of these videos is always starting the video. I kind of feel like an asshat every time I start the video and I'm like, hello to a web camera. I'm going to ramble into you now. But that seems to really be what it ends up being. Intro. This is the first channel update that I have in the sense of an actual channel update, and that's to cover a milestone that I think is a milestone, and maybe you don't think it's a milestone, but I think it's a milestone and I'm pretty happy about it, and that is that the channel got over 500 subscribers. I'm honestly a little surprised that that happened because I ramble on about a pretty small topic, generally swords. It's a niche subject, and I further specialize into not really a further niche of that niche. It's very nichey. So I'm kind of surprised that anyone really wants to hear it, but the fact that 500 or more folks have elected to subscribe, which is pretty cool to me, gives me a little bit of drive to keep rambling on, as it were. So I will try to continue to do that in the time I have to chop things up. You can kind of tune out here if you're not interested in hearing me ramble on about the channel or making videos, because that's probably what I'm going to talk about. There's no cool sword porn at this point in time. It's just a thank you for subscribing if you have done that. I'm pretty new to YouTube, so I don't know if that's necessarily awesome or great or what that means, but the number going up makes me happy, so thank you. On to other stuff, which I don't necessarily have planned, but I will maybe answer, say, a couple questions that I've gotten on the realm of the sword videos that I've had. Questions. Shit. Okay. Is that my real voice in the video stuff? Yes, it is my real voice. This is how I actually talk most of the time. When I'm sick, I talk a little lower, I guess, but the movie guy voice, like, in a world where one man did something and ate a burrito and then farted, like, I can do that voice. There's another one that I've put out, which is more nasally. It's like the old and timey, I don't know. It reminds me of like something from like the 40s or 50s on like the old tape. And that's like, once there was a man who went to Nantucket and met a guy with a I do random voices from time to time, and hopefully they add a degree of entertainment. Honestly, if it's a historic stuff, I'm no expert, and videos take long enough to make, research takes even longer, and there are people that are more qualified and better and frankly more interested in the historic and research aspect of it, and I encourage you to look at those types of channels. There are also people that are better practitioners, so from like a cutting standpoint, I'm not very good at it. So if I can't necessarily add a lot of historic relevant information and I can't necessarily show you how to use it, I can at least make jokes about it, right? That's a thing that somebody can do, and I can do that, and I can do it in funny voices, so hopefully that adds to it. Hopefully that answers your question. Yes, those are my voices, and I do them for fun. And I don't do voice recording professionally because I don't know why. If you want to pay me money to sit on my ass and read from a card, I can do that as soon as I learn to read. If it's a thing I could sit at home and do and make money, then I would probably do it. But most of the time when people talk to me about doing voice recording, like it's work. Like anything else that pays money, it's work. Which is probably why I don't get paid to make YouTube videos, because it's work, but it's not like a lot of work, but it takes time, but it's not hard. But I think you get what I'm throwing down. Why don't I put rating systems on swords? Why don't I say this is a 1 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 or 1 out of 5 or purple monkey dishwasher? Ramble. That is because I believe in my heart of hearts that the sword is a very subjective thing. Now, there are very factual things about it. What kind of metal is it made out of? How big is it? Is it functional? Are there any glaring flaws or something like that? And those things are pretty tangible, but the sense of what's the value? Is it valuable? Is it worth the money? I can answer that from my personal perspective, but a lot of the other stuff is very, very subjective. How a sword works for me might not be the same as how it works for the next guy. It might work better or adjust for my failures as a practitioner in a way that it won't for another practitioner. A lot of that stuff seems really highly subjective, so I do my best to present information that I find relevant and things that I would look for and things that I've kind of learned over the years are important to look at. I do that and let you make up your own damn mind, because what the hell, God, I hope you don't go to the end of a video and be like, 5 stars, I'll buy it. Ramble. At least getting some sort of idea on some of the things that you find important hopefully helps you make up your mind on what you want, but there's not really a rating scale that I've found that would be fair. And not to say that other reviewers that put in rating systems are arbitrary. I mean that I don't have the mental capacity to give you, the viewer, a consistent and responsible rating system. How come some of your reviews aren't drunken? Well, that's simple. Sometimes I'm not drunk. Believe it or not, it happens. I'm generally not super drunk when I'm swinging the sword around because of the inherent danger. But I will admit I am relatively tipsy when I do the voiceover, at least a good chunk at a time. But I'm not always tipsy, and right now I'm going on a little bit of a no drinky for a diety type thing because I'm getting a little chub going on. No, that's not right. Not chub. I'm getting a little chubby. My wife of many years has convinced me to go on to a diet that is pretty restrictive and doesn't let me eat many things or drink many things, and one of them is beer and alcohol. I describe it as a taste good diet. If it tastes good, I have to spit it out, and that's the diet I'm on right now. And if I'm being honest and sharing something personal, it's the first diet that I've really ever been on. I've pretty much always eaten whatever I want, whenever I want, in as much quantity as I want. But at some point, my metabolism was like, hey, you're over 30, wait. And so my wife noticed that because she sees me naked. And I was like, hey, maybe you should stop doing that. And she said that enough to me where I eventually kind of gave in. So I'm giving a shot to 3 months of the first diet of my life. And my lessons there are quite a bit. One, dieting is really sucky. So for any of you out there that are watching that are still listening for whatever reason, and you have gone on a diet before, it's terrible. And I have my deepest sympathies to you because it's not a fun thing. It's not like, there are harder things to do in life than diet. Don't get me wrong, but it's not easy. There are things like bacon and pizza and bacon and pizza and bacon and pizza and it's really hard to resist doing that. I see how difficult it is anyway. So for any of you that struggle with your weight or have dieted in the past, whether that be for whatever the hell you diet for, I know sometimes it's a weight thing, a health thing, and sometimes it's because you want to get super ripped thing. Whatever the case, I am now a little bit more understanding of your predicament because, man, when you have not eaten pizza in 3 weeks and everyone around you is eating pizza or burgers or having beers, it's difficult to carry on a logical train of thought and conversation because you like drool, or at least I do, but that's because I'm weird like that. Questione number 4. Am I a millionaire and do I spend all my money on swords? My answer, that's 2 questions. So no, I am very far from a millionaire. Very, very, very far. And yeah. I was just thinking briefly what it would be like if I was a millionaire and how many swords I would have. I'm just a average Joe that works a daytime job and is horribly in debt because of swords. I'm just a guy that makes bad decisions like everybody else. I don't have a whole lot of terribly expensive hobbies. Swords are really the one. I don't play golf, so I have swords. Not a millionaire, just a dude that makes bad decisions. And we have brief pause for my doting daughter coming in and needing to jam out on the Minecraft. I also want to put out a special thanks to I Am Shad, or specifically the Shad, right? Not just a Shad, the Shad. And you know who I'm talking about, Shad, or at least some of you do, because a lot of the folks that have recently subscribed to the channel are likely due to his video that had a glowing endorsement of my shenanigans and tomfoolery. And I really appreciate it, Shad. So thank you. And for those of you that are coming from that channel, it is thank you for the subscription. And for those of you that have not seen I Am Shad, he does some pretty cool stuff. Honestly, one of the things that I really like about his channel, and one of the first things that I picked up on, was his in-depth explanation of the materials that go into a katana. And I thought that he did an awesome job explaining a pretty complex topic. And granted, it takes a few parts to get through all that, but there's a lot of material to digest there, a lot of stuff to understand. And for anyone that's interested in the subject of modern katanas and production swords and what they're made out of, and steels and all the things that go into it, his series there that I will do my best to throw in the description below is a really, really awesome one, and I think does a great job of explaining it in a way that really you can't necessarily find in one cohesive place anywhere else. So thanks again, Shad, and kudos. I like that shit. She's got headphones on. this is the end of the channel update, and I just want to again say thank you to those of you that have elected to subscribe. It's not just like a number; it's a number. I mean, that's what it is, and I know in the grand scale of YouTube, it's a very small number. But I'm honestly touched that 500 people would be interested in what I have to say. Behind each one of those subscribers is an actual person that is interested in the content that I produce, and I use content very loosely. I'm not a super sappy person, so it's weird for me to get all sappified on you, but I just want to let you know that honestly, I appreciate it. It can be a thankless job to make these videos. They do take a lot of time, and seeing 500 people interested is very motivating and moving to me. So I will end with thank you once again. Cheers. Ramble, ramble, ramble.